Using shock collars, also known as training collars or electronic collars, is a frequently used technique to help a dog better understand and remember the skills that they are supposed to know. Shock collars can be very useful if they are properly used. However, many dog owners use them as a substitute for normal training techniques, which may not be the best solution, especially for young dogs. Shock collars also come with a bit of controversy, so before you start to use a shock collar as a training device, it is important that you fully understand the pros and cons of this tool and the perceptions that some people may have about these handy tools. How do you teach your dog using a shock collar? If you aren't sure how to use one properly, consult a professional trainer or hire a professional trainer to train your dog with a shock collar. Here are the steps that we recommend for using a shock collar as a training tool. Purchase a quality product. This is a really important step in training your dog with a shock collar. A good tool will make your life and your pup's life so much more enjoyable. Do your research before you invest. You may not need all the bells and whistles, and spending a ton of money on something you can utilize well, a waste of money. Start with the basics. This means all the basics. Don't start training your new puppy right off the bat with a shock collar. It won't work, and both you and your puppy will be frustrated. Use basic, traditional training techniques to teach your dog the basic commands that they will need to be polite members of society. Let your dog get used to the collar first. Let your dog wear the collar without any corrections. Shock collars feel different from other collars, so give your pup a chance to get comfortable wearing the tool. Show your dog the behavior you want. If you expect behavior from your dog, but you don't tell them what you want, just correcting them with the shock collar isn't going to do a bit of good. Show your dog the behavior you're looking for. This is going to be a repetitive process and may take a few weeks. Use treats, specific words, and the shock collar to reinforce the behavior you want. Pretty soon, you can use just a cue on the shock collar to ask your dog to do a particular skill. Back up the shock collar with other techniques. Here's the scoop: if your dog only knows how to do a skill using a shock collar, you won't be able to get him to do anything if he isn't wearing the shock collar. Make sure you use a variety of training techniques, like positive reinforcement, clickers, negative response training, etc., so that if you're just out with a collar or a harness, your dog still knows what to do when you make a request. Aim to use vibrate or no collar at all. Most dogs really want to please their owners. Honestly, your dog sees this as his job, to make you happy. So, when you choose to use a shock collar for training your dog, your eventual goal is to have a dog that is so well trained that you can leave the shock collar behind, or use the vibrate setting only. Know when to ask for help. Before you get frustrated and get tempted to give up, or worse, turn the correction level all the way up, ask for help. Many professional dog trainers are highly skilled in using shock collars. If you are struggling, don't give up, ask for help. Yes, you'll probably have to pay for the help, but professional trainers can give you all sorts of great tips and tricks to make using a shock collar easy and successful for both you and your pup. One final reminder: unless you're in a life or death situation, you should never need to use the highest correction level on your shock collar. Most shock collars come with a range of correction levels. Many have a vibrate setting, along with a range of electric shocks that increase in intensity. Most dogs will correct behavior or learn a behavior using the lowest levels of correction. However, sometimes, just like people, dogs can be stubborn. If your dog isn't responding to a lower correction level, slowly increase the level until you reach a point that gets your dog's attention. Generally, this will be just a level or two from where you started. Using the highest level of correction to teach basic skills or to correct undesirable behavior is not training. It is mean, and your dog won't learn a skill. They'll just learn to be afraid of you. What can you teach your dog using a shock collar? Off-leash walking. Correct problem behaviors. Hunting. Agility training. Specialty jobs.